Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of CS Cyber. I'm Sean.
And I'm Chad.
And as always, there's a lot in the news. So let's go to the U.S. Telecom firms getting compromised, it looks like. That doesn't look good.
Chinese hackers, man. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So this originally came out, I remember this like a couple months ago. And it was actually based on some intelligence that Dragos had done and released about Chinese hackers probing our cellular infrastructure.
Yeah, so these look like both cellular and carrier technologies. You know, so it was Verizon, AT&T, Lumen, and it was really directed at I didn't know this, at the wiretapping infrastructure that's kind of set up in these companies for law enforcement. So
yeah, funny how it all comes together. So obviously they were after something specific. So the wiretapping, you want me to talk about the wiretapping business?
Yeah, talk about that, because that's really the most interesting part of this story to me. I was like, wait a second, this took me right back to like the Snowden days. But this is all legit. I mean, this is there for them.
Yeah, it is
surveillance. So
yeah, so I think what people don't realize is, and this is all still post the Patriot Act and stuff like that. Doesn't stop law enforcement from gathering wiretaps. There's a portion of the infrastructure, the communications infrastructure that is set up that has records that are ready and available and to be used by law enforcement, meaning that some of your phone calls do have recordings that are behind them. Now, I don't have the specifics on what is not recorded, but they can petition a judge to get access to those to that data. That's one portion of it. The next portion is more of a live tap. So that's law enforcement getting access to active phone calls where they can
real time.
Yeah. So that's real. Wiretapping, I don't think is any big surprise to the.
No. I mean, it's been around
it's been around for a long time. It's just now it's kind of in public light right now, right? So the Chinese government, is using their Salt Typhoon group to get access to that data. So that's not good.
So when I was reading this story, I started going down the rabbit hole, right? So I guess it's the Communications Assistance and Law Enforcement Act. So CALEA is what allows law enforcement to put these out there. But I started thinking, like, is this carrier infrastructure? Does the government who's responsible for this and who has access to it, right? Like, how do I don't want to be on this list, but how do I get my data on this list, or is all the traffic just traversing this? And it's kind of like a sampling.
I'm not sure. A lot of stuff changed post Snowden and with the Patriot Act. So Patriot Act, just to bring everybody up to speed, was passed back post 9/11. Yeah. And we obviously, used the Patriot Act to monitor domestic communications. Because it was found that a lot of the terrorists that struck the Twin Towers, a lot of their communication was based on domestic communication systems. So, but now in hindsight, we see that maybe that may have been misused a little bit, potentially. So so that's out there. Yeah. I'm really dancing around the whole thing, but
right. You don't want to listen. You want to get in the details.
I don't have the details.
It's hot underneath these lights, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's really getting hot in here. I don't have those details. I'm ex law enforcement. So I just want to say that I see both sides of the coin. Yeah. But just the fact, getting back to the article, that the Chinese government has now had access to this information could be bad, right? So
right, and it was months. Like, they've had access for months. It wasn't just. They discovered it. It's been short-lived. They've had access for quite a while. Like, this has been a long play for China. But it's just interesting to me, like, how they get access to something that deep and that sensitive into a network. And I was reading something the other day that said, hackers don't hack in anymore. They just log in.
Well, there might be some truth to that.
Yeah. Like, that kind of struck me. I was like, man, like, they're kind of right. I mean, there's a lot more just credentials, floating around out there now, more than ever, right? So,
right.
They're not really hacking in anymore. They're just logging in.
Let's just say that the carriers have been in the news a little too much lately, and they should probably get out of the news. So I don't know what's going on from a security standpoint with obviously these carriers, but then the amount of outages and things that that we've been seeing, it's not looking good.
What makes you wonder what's happening underneath the covers, right? Like, are these outages related to this? Is there something like more nefarious going on in these networks that we're just not aware of? Like, how is that all?
Yeah,
what's going on in the shadows, right?
Yeah, I wish I knew. I would hope that Verizon or some of these AT&T would be, would be up front and let us know if that was the case. But I'm going to err on the side of that could cause a lot of panic among U.S. citizens if they were able to get access to the real story. So I'm just going to say the majority of the time, I guess we're going to get the watered down version. But I don't really know if we'll actually know if it was an actual cyber attack.
Yeah. Well, I hope the story continues, because I think this one was really interesting to me and one I'd like to follow. But like many of them, they just kind of go away. So we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
FBCS ransomware attack. This actually happened earlier in 2024, but Comcast was in the news because they had about 238,000 Comcast customers that had their personal data exfiltrated as part of that. So
yeah, can you say third-party attack?
Third-party attack, yeah.
Good job.
This was FBCS. I mean, total it was like 4 million people that got hit. So I was trying to find a list of like who all uses FBCS and couldn't find one. So I'm sure we'll see more of this come out as they got to hit 4 million people. So.
Right. We just happened to see that 237,000 of them were Comcast.
Yeah, and I think the headline was a little misleading, right? I mean, it was 238 Comcast customers, but then you read the article and it was really FBCS.
Sure. Yep. Of course.
Yep. One of those things.
American Water.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So speaking of misleading, the headline is grabbing onto a lot of the alerts that have been going out about Iran's activities involving critical infrastructure. American Water was not, their critical infrastructure, to our knowledge, was not hit. This is the online services for American Water. So apparently, like the payment portal was made not available. This is I believe this is a publicly traded company because we were able to find out about this through their 8K filing, which is the new SEC requirement.
Yeah, so they're actually headquartered in New Jersey, but they operate across 14 states.
Right.
And I was just kind of doing some research on this. I think this will be the 7th or 8th water plant hit in 2024 that at least I've seen in the news, right? I'm sure there's other smaller ones that are going on, but I mean, that have at least grabbed headlines. I think this is probably the biggest one, actually. Yeah,
this is an example. Most of us are very familiar with, local government having critical infrastructure like water and wastewater. So this is an example. This is just one example of a private sector company. Another one is like Veolia is another very large one. So this is that type of company.
Right. Let's see what else we got here.
So Word is deleting stuff. That sounds bad.
Yeah. If you're using Microsoft Word, Word. 365 Word, 2409.
Yep.
There's a bug, right? So watch out for that. I just checked mine and I'm not using that.
No, but you're using the lower version, which means...
I just haven't upgraded to this yet.
Okay. Well, don't.
I'm not. I lucked out, right? Because I misplace Word documents all the time. I'm like, where did I save that? And then turns out Word's just deleting them. So it's legit.
So not quite a cybersecurity thing, but more of a public service announcement.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Yeah.
All right. And I think that's all we have for today. So keep an eye on further episodes as we tackle these articles, and we'll catch you next time.
We'll see you next time.
All right. See ya.